Review video for your final test for youth in law, going over unit by unit, going over some key concepts. On the definitions will not be filled in here, but you can easily look those up using your online textbook. So looking at Unit 1, the question I always ask is what is the difference between criminal and civil law? Criminal law, again, is regulating public conduct. The government is bringing a charge against a person versus civil law, where it's a person-to-person lawsuit brought by one person or a company to another person or company regulating those relations. Then the difference between a felony and a misdemeanor. Felony is more serious, punishable of over a year in jail. Those things are like murder and robbery. Misdemeanors are less than a year in jail, maybe fines, things like shoplifting. The definition of jurisprudence is the study of law and legal philosophy. The idea of judicial review is used by the courts and as a process by which the courts decide whether the law is passed by Congress or by state violate the Constitution. What is meant by legislative intent? This is when judges are looking at things and they determine what the writer of those laws actually intended when they were writing it. Qualifications for a jury member: citizen of the United States, 18 years old, live in that state, and you must speak and understand English. What happens in a preparatory challenge is for jurors, they dismiss a juror, but they don't need a reason for that. The other way would be a removal for cause, so removing an individual that's possibly going to be on the jury by a lawyer. The jury member maybe is incapable to give a fair trial. So the different participants in a civil trial, you have the plaintiff, defendant. In a criminal trial, you have the prosecutor and the defendant. And there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. There's some key definitions to define on your own. More definitions here for Unit 2. The elements of negligence, those 4 areas: duty, breach of duty, causation, damages. Again, duty, was there a duty by the plaintiff, and did they violate that? That's the breach. And then was there causation, meaning was there some harm done, and did that harm cause some damages suffered by the plaintiff? A reasonable person standard is used in some of these cases. So what would a normal person do? How would they act responsibly? The 2 types of defending yourself in a negligence case or suit. Contributory, so laws that protect the defendant if you're being sued, because the plaintiff avoided maybe some guidelines or warnings. Or there's comparative, where judges are going to award some damages based on who's most at fault, maybe a percentage there. Areas of strict liability include dangerous activities, animals, and defective products. The 2 elements to prove are just causation and damages. So again, it's harder to defend yourself right here in a strict liability case because that's all you have to do. You're liable no matter what. A tort remedy. So how do you fix something? There's a solution. A tort remedy is a settlement or solution, and usually done with money or monetary means. When and why do tort cases go to trial? Usually there's no one can place the blame or settle outside of court, so they finally go to trial. And 3 types of damages, and explain each. So compensatory, awarded to compensate the plaintiff for something that was done wrong. A nominal, so more of a symbolic way to agree that you were wrong. Or a punitive, more of a way to punish, especially large companies. Now Unit 3, our biggest unit here. What is the difference between an accessory before the fact and an accessory after? Again, before, helping someone before the crime occurs, planning it. After would maybe be getting someone out of somewhere. The crime has already been committed. You're helping the person figure it out. What is the difference between solicitation and conspiracy? Who would be guilty in a conspiracy? Who would be guilty in a solicitation? So solicitation is trying to get someone to commit a crime for you, and that person would be punished, especially if that other person doesn't agree. Conspiracy is working with someone to commit a crime, so both people would be punished. In order to get out of that, you would have to tell someone if you're in conspiracy before the crime was committed. Crime of omission, fails to perform an act, kind of like not paying your taxes. There's some key definitions there. What types of searches are prohibited by the Fourth Amendment? Those are the unreasonable searches and seizures. The TLO versus New Jersey case talks about that student who was smoking, and the principal found cigarettes in her purse and then marijuana, and they said that was okay. And this brings up the idea that all you need is reasonable suspicion in schools. Our last unit here, looking at Unit 4, key definitions. Until what age is a person considered a juvenile? 17. What types of crimes can result in a juvenile being tried as an adult? Serious felonies. Activities committed by children that can get their parents in trouble, being in a gang or selling drugs. The standard of proof is still beyond a reasonable doubt for juveniles, same as adults. You got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. The three groups that are handled by the juvenile court system include delinquent offenders, status offenders, and then children who are abused or neglected. 5 different status offenses, so offenses that are committed by juveniles: running away from home, truancy from school, beyond the control of their parents or guardians, disobeying others, underage drinking. The different ways a police officer can then deal with a juvenile offender: maybe give a warning, call parents, release to the parents, maybe refer to some type of social service, or detain and bring to the juvenile detention or juvenile court system. And then key questions that you need to be able to answer on your own. What is law? Maybe define it in your own words. What does the law consist of? And maybe provide some examples. The other question, again, being able to clearly define what the difference between criminal and civil law is.